Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is June 29th, and today we're going to take a look, of course, at the upcoming weekend and our 4th of July forecast. But first, I wanted to show you a couple things here. We're going to put this into motion. And this is actually the sea surface temperatures here over the last 2 years, day by day. And we started this La Nina episode in about August of 2020. You can see here we're September, October. Here we go into November of 2020. And you can see this La Nina effect out here. You can see this cooler water all the way out across the Central Pacific. And again, this is Nino 3.4 where we measure these conditions. You kind of see the upwelling off the coast of South America here. And we went through a little bit of a pause in through the summer of 2021 where we were not in La Nina conditions. We were in neutral conditions. But as soon as we got back to the fall and winter of 2021, we went back into La Nina conditions. And of course, that continued on and it continues on until now. Here we go into August of 2021. Now watch as we get towards the fall. You can kind of see this reestablish itself across the Central Pacific here. And we go into November. And of course, we remember what happened in December. We had some pretty classic La Nina conditions going on here, and we had that nice cold spell here for the Pacific Northwest, shall we say. And La Nina conditions continue on through February, March, April, May, and June, and probably on into July here for the Pacific Northwest and across the Central Pacific there. So it's kind of an interesting graphic here. This is the University of Washington Department of Atmospheric Sciences site. Kind of a cool site here. You can go in there and play around with a lot of their different model runs, and some of their graphics are pretty amazing. So before we jump into our Pacific Northwest forecast, I want to show you guys South America. It's now moving into its winter months. You can see that storm track kind of aimed at the southern portion of the continent here. Very rugged area down there. Not a lot of people. You can see the cold air cumulus just flooding onto the continent down there. Kind of an interesting time of year where we're completely flip-flop moving into the winter months down there, and our summer is now coming on here in the northern hemisphere, and the Amazon is now moving into its dry season. They usually get a lot of precipitation through here, a lot of thunderstorms, but once you get into July and towards December, that's the dry season for the Amazon. And speaking of dry, this is the driest place on earth. The Atacama Desert is included in that. And there are some portions out here reportedly that's never reported rainfall. And there's a combination of factors that go into that. One of them is a cold water current that kind of comes like this and moves towards the equator and does not bring a lot of moisture with it. That colder water does not hold as much moisture content and moves down the coast here. And as well as the interaction between the polar vortex or the tropospheric polar vortex down here in the southern hemisphere is that it's not as variable as in the northern hemisphere. So you don't get these big Rossby waves that bring these big troughs out across the hemisphere as much as you do in the northern hemisphere because we have more land up here. So as I put this into motion here, you can kind of see this uniform rotation of winds around the southern hemisphere there. And you notice how persistent they are across portions of South America there. That's just kind of one of the reasons why they're very dry here, and it is the driest place on earth. So jumping right back towards the Pacific Northwest, you can see we have some lightning strikes out here in extreme eastern BC out towards Alberta. You can see this upper level low still spinning over the region. Onshore flow continues, so our chilly generally below average temperatures will continue for much of the region here, still bringing some precipitation for British Columbia. And hopefully that does a good job at squelching some of the fires that try to build later on into July and August this year and even into September. Checking out SeaTac, look at our heat wave. We went from 87, 90, and 91 crashing back down yesterday with the marine push of 65 degrees. 26-degree drop, and of course nowhere near the record temperature that we had last year of 108. That I kind of wonder if we'll ever see that beaten in my lifetime. And you can see into July we start getting average temperatures into the mid and even upper 70s for SeaTac here. So summer is definitely still coming, folks, but we still have some troughing coming up here, and we'll look at that system that may impact us on the 4th of July and on into early next week coming up here in a moment. This is the European 24-hour precipitation. You can see some pretty good amounts up through British Columbia and Alberta there, and lesser amounts for Washington, really not much for Oregon as we go through here. Now, we're going to keep this general troughing around, but we still should get some nice days out of this in the meantime. This is the 060. Let's move this out to the 0Z. And we'll kind of show this. You can kind of see the curl of the system here as it moves through. And it could bring some stronger, even some severe storms to portions of British Columbia, eastern Washington, Idaho, and Montana as we go through later on the 4th of July, but it does not look like a huge precipitation maker at this time for western Washington, Oregon. But the Cascades could get some thunderstorms. British Columbia as well. Looks like they're going to make out pretty good again with this next system here as far as precipitation totals. Now, this is looking at 700 millibar height and cyclonic relative vorticity here. You can see the system moving through here. You have to kind of, you almost need like 3D goggles to decode this here, but you can kind of see the spin that continues on through July 1st. And you can see it out here off the coast, keeping us in a generally southern flow, but generally dry for western portion. But you can kind of see this vorticity kicking up here as we get into the 4th of July. And that's what might spawn some thunderstorms for eastern Washington, British Columbia, on in through Idaho and Montana here. Does not look like a thunderstorm maker for western portions of Washington, BC, or Oregon at this point. But we've got to watch that because this low is going to be kind of spinning out here. And then you'll see another system kind of kick through there at the end of the period. So general troughing around the area should continue. This is current, this upper level low, and the troughing kind of kicks out, but it never really leaves. It kind of hangs out there. Then you can kind of see it redevelop as we go on in through July 3rd here. And the 4th of July, it kind of starts to eject up a little bit here, and that's what could bring those strong storms, mainly eastern portions. But we'll continue to watch that here, and then you can see this very weak system kick through later in the period. And then we're getting off into fantasy land at that point. So the GFS, let's see how much that agrees with the European. You can see that troughing kick out. And again, good agreement with the European that it doesn't really fully leave. This is the 12Z. Let's actually back up to the 06 so we can go out a little bit further, and you can kind of see that troughing hanging off the coastline here. It's going to bring that southerly flow across the region and generally keep those precipitation totals going, especially again for BC and portions of eastern Washington, especially on the 4th of July. Might get some good convective activity moving up there. The GFS is in good agreement there. Then the extended kind of keeps that troughing hanging around the region here. So we'll continue to watch that on in through the extended as well. But doesn't look like a washout for western portions, but there could be some good precipitation amounts for British Columbia and eastern portions for the 4th of July. We'll keep an eye on that. You can see today, 72 for SeaTac, not bad, getting up towards normal again. Should be a fairly nice day, especially if we get some breaks in the clouds here. And you can see we warm up at Thursday, Friday, Saturday before that troughing affects the area. Basically Sunday, Monday before we start to warm up a bit again, but I'm not putting too much stock in the extended here. But it is that time of year where we really start getting some nice weather here across Pacific Northwest. But no heat waves look imminent at this point. Here's the GFS showing the low 70s for today, and we start to warm it up a bit towards 80 on through Saturday. Then Sunday we start to cool it back down. The operational run again chilly here as we go on in through Sunday. And then the 4th of July here is on Monday. We warm it up a little bit, but we'll see how that goes. We're going to wait a little bit for an official 4th of July forecast here. We'll watch these high-resolution models get a little bit closer and give us a little bit better idea what's coming. GFS for Spokane kind of showing that troughing concern. Oh, actually, the position of that trough kind of keeps eastern Washington a little bit chilly here on the 4th of July. So we'll watch out for that system to see what kind of thunderstorms it's going to develop. This is Seattle, Tacoma. You can see some of the ensemble members of the European here do pick up on some heavier precipitation amounts. So don't just look at the operational run. There are some outliers in here that bring some pretty good precipitation amounts through the 4th of July evening here, including one that's over an inch. And just to kind of highlight this fact that we've never gotten an inch of rain or more at SeaTac in the month of July. So if you want a record to try to beat, maybe this is the year to do it. Who knows? But yeah, there are some ensemble members that do show some precipitation coming through the 4th of July, so we'll continue to watch that closely. Also, Spokane kind of highlighting that system also on the 4th of July, showing some precipitation possibilities out there. So heads up for that. We'll continue to watch it. You see Kamloops here. This is in millimeters. So if you're looking at 29 millimeters is what, 2.9 centimeters. That's, that's about an inch of rain. 2.5 centimeters is 1 inch of rain. So there's some pretty good amounts here coming up in the extended near the 4th of July evening here with that system coming up out of the south, kind of sitting off the coast of Washington there. So I hope my conversion there was correct. I usually don't deal with millimeters and centimeters. Here's Blue River further out into British Columbia too, showing some good precipitation totals coming through the evening of the 4th of July on in through later that evening as well. So Could be a washout in some of those places there for eastern British Columbia. But of course, it's much better than what they were dealing with at this time of year. A historic heat wave that just absolutely decimated that region up there, just completely dried them out. You can see Prince George also showing that potential out there in British Columbia for that rainfall there on the 4th of July. This was Blue River, checking out the temperatures. Of course, nothing like last season where they were just getting absolutely hammered by that upper level ridge that brought those record highs. So much welcome relief out there this year. And this is just kind of showing here, this is 2020. You can see when those La Nina conditions started here for the Central Pacific, and they continue on in through now into May for the season, and the potential for a third one coming up here, which is extremely rare. If we click right here, you can see we went through that in the 70s a bit here. We did have 3 seasons where we went through some La Nina conditions in the early to mid 70s there. We kind of did that again. Actually, we did do that again, 98, 99, 2000. And none of those years were exceptionally snowy, but that doesn't mean that our third La Nina won't be fairly cool or snowy. You know, we just don't know at this point here. So it seems to happen about every 25 years or so. So we'll see if we actually get there, but it looks like we might be going into our third La Nina in a row. And yeah, if you want to check out these sea surface temperature sites, UW has a really good display of them here. And you know, this, for example, this one shows every day for the last 2 years. You can kind of just watch these sea surface temperature anomalies just kind of move and ebb and flow across Pacific Ocean. So again, we'll wait for some ensemble or the high resolution runs, to come into a closer range here before we make any kind of 4th of July forecast. As of now, that upper level low is going to be fickle, and what the models show it's going to do probably up until a day or two before the actual event arrives on the 4th of July. There is some chance for some good precipitation amounts west of the Cascades, but it doesn't generally look like that is that's not high confidence at this time. So we'll go ahead and look at this again tomorrow as always, and click like, click subscribe, help support the page. You guys make this page possible, and we'll do this again tomorrow, and I'll talk to you then.